Hi, this is Bernie, your Uber elder, waiting here in the queue at San Francisco Airport. And I want to talk about capitalism. A lot is discussed these days about whether some of the left, the progressives, are anti-capitalism, are socialists, and socialism and communism, as it was before, the boogeyman, is sort of anti-capitalism. And I don't view that our choice is between, the real choice is between capitalism and socialism, when both systems are about centralized governance, concentrated power in a nation's capital that sets the rules that everyone must live by. That is what I see as the problem. That combined with the idea of corporations, of limited partnerships, of LLCs, even nonprofits. These are legal entities that then take on the rights of people, but it's all about concentration of power, concentration of capital, and it's that concentration that has caused the destruction to the planet as I see it. And so I think it's a false debate about whether our government should be more socialist or less socialist, and whether socialism is the enemy of capitalism. I say local economies rather than a national economy, a national currency that is connected to all the other Western civilized economies and monies of the world. The financial institutions are multinational, they're global in reach, and they concentrate power that I think is the destructive force. So if we had all commerce being person to person only, I don't think we'd have these billionaires, the 100, the 500 wealthiest people on the planet, or in the United States, or the Fortune 500, or the Fortune 100, or the Fortune 10 companies. I think those all are the anomalies that our industrial society now has that are part of the problem. So I don't want to see this level of centralized authority, whether it's socialist, and that means one medical plan for all, one Social Security process for all, one taxation program for all, that everything we do there in terms of talking about tax rates and how should we tax and where should we tax is all about concentrating the wealth in the nation's capital or in corporations that are maybe in New York, maybe in San Francisco. It doesn't matter where they're headquartered. Their global reach has such high impact, and our governments are no match for their economic power. So Amazon rules internet retail these days, and that's just the way it is. Google rules the search engines and the finding stuff and to get you to Amazon to buy something. And Apple and some other, Samsung and some other global manufacturers rule the smartphone. And then there are a few more players in the tablet and desktop space. But in most industries, it's a handful or one, two, or three companies that set the agenda. That's the problem. And it comes about with capitalist ideas, but if you made all commerce person to person, it would be by default local. It would be between people that will bump into each other, that know each other, that are communicating face to face within the same community. And like in the old days when you had a industry, a town where the owner of that industry that dominated that town, he'd still go to church on Sundays, and he'd have to face his employees in front of the priest or the or the minister. He'd have to be in front of his customers and suppliers. And if he screwed around with people, word would get around quickly and he'd be done. And so the bad actors in a local economic reality are quickly ferreted out. And it's only because now CEOs live behind gated communities. They don't see their employees really. They don't see the suppliers. Well, maybe they do in a few cases, but they don't see their customers for the most part. They get a dashboard on their computer that tells them how they're doing this month, this quarter, this week, today, and what department head or what vice president should they go bother right now to get things back into the profitability column. So it's that sense of governance. We need strong government if we're going to regulate corporations, but we don't need that kind of regulation if we don't have corporations in the first place. We need simplicity. We need the golden rule when it comes to dealing with our fellow human beings. And we can have people even gathering together their resources for a bigger project in town, for dealing with some road construction or building a bridge or helping people build homes that they need. That can be done, but we don't need to do it at the scale of the most efficiency. This efficiency that comes from economy of scale has taken us to humongous scale that is no longer responsive to individuals. It can't be called a democracy when it's all centralized wealth that is doing the day-to-day economic activity, that is doing the mining, the manufacturing, the distribution, the retailing, the medical providing, all of that stuff. Yes, we like all that it gives us, but the downside is it's destroying the planet, it's destroying our society, and we're here fighting Democrat, Republican, capitalist, socialist, but we're not seeing that those differences matter less than if we collapsed all of this centralized authority, abandoned Washington, D.C. In California, we abandoned the idea of having California, of needing a Sacramento legislature and a governor, and even county offices, and get back to villages, to towns, to neighborhoods, self-governing, regulating themselves, having huge diversity in terms of what their values are and how they proceed as part of the human race, interacting with the other species that live in those ecosystems, preserving the watershed, taking care of the forest. It's a future that's possible if we get rid of not just capitalism, but the centralization of authority.